Some dogs are famous for being smart. Everybody expects Border Collies to be intelligent. Nobody is shocked when a German Shepherd learns something quickly. But intelligence in dogs is a lot more complicated than people think. Because being smart doesn't always mean being obedient. And being obedient doesn't always mean being smart. Some dogs solve problems. Some dogs read people. Some dogs learn commands incredibly quickly, and some dogs are intelligent enough to understand exactly what you want before deciding they'd rather do something else, which honestly might be the smartest move of all. The funny thing is that many of the smartest breeds don't always look intelligent at first. Some are playful, some are goofy, some are stubborn. And some spend so much time causing trouble that owners forget how clever they actually are. So today, we're counting down some of these surprisingly smart dog breeds and looking at what makes each one so intelligent. And trust me, a few of these might not be the breeds you're expecting. Before we start, make sure to check out our selected and recommended products linked down below. 10. Beagles. When people think about smart dogs, beagles usually aren't the first breed that comes to mind. And honestly, that's because beagles have a public relations problem. They're famous for being distracted, stubborn, food-obsessed, and occasionally incapable of remembering that their owner exists once an interesting smell appears. But none of those things mean they're unintelligent. In fact, beagles are surprisingly smart. The catch is that they don't always use that intelligence the way humans would like. A Border Collie learns commands because it wants to work with you. A Beagle learns commands because understanding the rules helps it figure out how to bend them later. These dogs were bred to track scents over long distances with very little human guidance. That requires problem-solving, decision-making, independence, and an incredible ability to stay focused on a goal. Owners see this intelligence all the time. The Beagle somehow finds food nobody knew existed. The Beagle learns exactly which family member is most likely to share snacks. The Beagle discovers how to open cabinets. The Beagle identifies weaknesses in household security systems, usually involving the kitchen. And honestly, that's what makes them so entertaining. Because beagles are smart enough to understand a lot. They just don't always care whether that understanding benefits their owners. What's especially funny is how determined they become once they've decided something is important. A Labrador might give up. A beagle starts gathering evidence. The dog follows clues, builds theories, conducts investigations, and refuses to stop until the mystery has been solved, or until food appears. Whichever happens first. So while they may not always look like geniuses, don't underestimate them. Because behind those floppy ears is a dog that's constantly collecting information. Unfortunately for owners, a lot of that information gets used for purposes that were never officially approved. 9. Doberman Pinschers. When people see a Doberman, intelligence is usually not the first thing they notice. It's the confidence, the athletic build, the serious expression, the fact that the dog looks like it has important meetings scheduled later. But behind that impressive appearance is one of the smartest breeds in the dog world. Dobermans were originally developed to be protectors and working dogs. That meant they needed much more than strength. They needed judgment, the ability to assess situations, the ability to learn quickly, and the ability to make decisions under pressure. And honestly, that's where their intelligence really shines. A lot of smart dogs learn commands quickly. Dobermans often learn entire routines. They pay attention. They notice patterns. And they become surprisingly good at predicting what's about to happen. Owners often describe situations where their Doberman seems to know what's coming before anyone says a word. The dog sees somebody grab their shoes. Walk-in coming. The dog notices a suitcase. Something unusual is happening. The dog sees a family member acting stressed. Investigation begins immediately. And what's especially interesting is how closely Dobermans watch people. Some breeds focus heavily on the environment. Dobermans often focus heavily on humans. They're constantly reading body language, watching behavior, looking for changes. It's almost like living with a dog that's quietly analyzing the room at all times, which can be both impressive and slightly unsettling, because sometimes it feels like the Doberman understands more than it's supposed to. And honestly, that's why they're such successful working dogs. They don't just memorize commands. They learn how situations work. They learn what people expect, and they adapt quickly. The downside? A smart Doberman can become bored if nothing interesting is happening, and a bored, intelligent dog is usually a very creative dog. Unfortunately, owners aren't always fans of the projects those creative ideas produce. Still, when it comes to learning, observation, and understanding people, Dobermans are among the most impressive dogs you'll ever meet, even if they occasionally use that intelligence to get away with things. 8. Australian Cattle Dogs. If there's one breed that proves intelligence and determination can be a dangerous combination, it's the Australian Cattle Dog. These dogs are unbelievably smart. The problem is that they know it. Originally bred to move cattle across huge distances in harsh conditions, Australian cattle dogs had to solve problems constantly. They couldn't wait for humans to tell them what to do every second. They had to think for themselves, make decisions, adapt quickly, and keep working even when things got difficult. That independence is still very much alive today, and honestly, owners notice it immediately. These dogs learn routines incredibly fast. Sometimes a little too fast. An Australian cattle dog might learn where the leash is kept, what time walks usually happen, and exactly which cabinet contains treats before the owner even realizes it's paying attention. And trust me, it's paying attention. One of the most impressive things about the breed is how observant they are. Nothing goes unnoticed. A new object in the house? Noticed. A different schedule? Noticed. A slight change in your behavior? Definitely noticed. These dogs seem to operate with their own internal surveillance system, and because they're so intelligent, they often anticipate what's going to happen next. Owners frequently describe situations where their dog appears to know the plan before anyone says a word. What's funny is that this intelligence can sometimes make them difficult pets for unprepared owners. Because smart dogs need mental stimulation. Lots of it. An Australian cattle dog that has enough exercise and mental challenges is incredible, focused, loyal, capable. An Australian cattle dog that's bored, that's a completely different story. A bored cattle dog often starts creating its own entertainment, and unfortunately, owners don't always appreciate the activities that get chosen. Because intelligent dogs are excellent problem solvers, the catch is that they don't always solve the problems humans want solved. Still, when it comes to awareness, adaptability, and learning, Australian cattle dogs are among the smartest breeds you'll ever meet, which is exactly why so many owners love them, and occasionally why they need a nap after dealing with them. Don't forget to check out our selected and recommended products. They might just be the perfect tools to make your life easier when it comes to caring for your pawed friend. 7. Papillon. When people think of highly intelligent dogs, Papillon are rarely the first breed that comes to mind. And honestly, that's one of the biggest reasons they're so impressive. Because hidden behind those elegant butterfly-shaped ears is a remarkably clever dog. Papillons are small, very small, but their brains operate on the same level as many breeds, several times their size. In fact, they're often considered one of the smartest toy breeds in the world, which surprises a lot of people. The average person sees a Papillon and thinks, cute little lapdog. The Papillon sees itself as a highly capable professional, and honestly, it has the skills to back that up. These dogs learn commands incredibly quickly. They're excellent at problem solving, and they're surprisingly successful in dog sports that require precision, memory, and communication. One reason for this is their natural curiosity. Papillons genuinely enjoy learning. Many dogs learn because treats are involved. Papillons often seem to enjoy the challenge itself. Give them a puzzle, teach them a trick, introduce a new activity, and they usually jump right in. Owners often describe them as little dogs that are constantly paying attention, watching, observing, trying to figure things out, which means they pick up habits and routines very quickly, sometimes faster than their owners would prefer. And because they're so alert, they often notice details that other dogs ignore completely. A slight movement, a familiar sound, a change in routine. The Papillon is already aware of it. What's especially impressive is how much intelligence they manage to pack into such a small package. Most people expect intelligence from working breeds. They don't always expect it from a dog small enough to fit comfortably on their lap. And that's exactly why Papillons make this list, because they're one of the smartest breeds in the dog world, while somehow remaining one of the most underestimated, which honestly might be the smartest position of all. Nobody suspects the tiny genius. 6. Labrador Retrievers. When most people think about Labradors, the first word that comes to mind usually isn't intelligence. It's friendly, or happy, or hungry. Very hungry. And honestly, that's exactly why Labradors often get underestimated, because beneath all that enthusiasm is a surprisingly intelligent dog. One of the smartest things about Labradors is how well they understand people. These dogs are incredibly observant. They watch routines, notice patterns, and learn household rules remarkably quickly. Owners often discover this the hard way. The Labrador somehow knows exactly when dinner is supposed to happen, exactly where treats are stored, exactly which family member is most likely to share food, and somehow always appears at the perfect moment. Coincidence? The Labrador would like you to think so, but probably not. What's especially impressive is how adaptable they are. Labradors succeed in an enormous number of roles: family companions, service dogs, therapy dogs, search and rescue dogs, detection dogs, guide dogs. That's not something an average dog can do. It requires intelligence, trainability, and the ability to understand what humans want, and honestly, that's one of the breed's biggest strengths. Labradors don't just learn commands, they learn people. They're incredibly good at reading emotions, understanding routines, and adjusting their behavior to fit different situations, which is one reason they're trusted in so many important jobs. What's funny is that their goofy personalities often hide just how smart they really are. A Border Collie looks intelligent, a German Shepherd looks intelligent, a Labrador looks like it just discovered a tennis ball for the first time. Again, for the 5th time today. But don't let that fool you. Because behind all that excitement is a dog that's constantly learning, constantly observing, and constantly figuring out how the world works. The fact that they sometimes use that intelligence to locate unattended sandwiches doesn't make them less smart. If anything, it might prove the point. 5. Golden Retrievers. Golden Retrievers have one of the friendliest reputations in the dog world, which is fair. They're affectionate, patient, optimistic, and somehow capable of making friends with absolutely everyone. But because they're so lovable, people sometimes overlook just how intelligent they really are. And honestly, that's a mistake. Golden Retrievers are extremely smart dogs, not just because they learn commands quickly, but because they're incredibly good at understanding people. These dogs pay attention. A lot. They notice routines, they notice emotions, they notice changes in behavior, and over time they become surprisingly good at predicting what humans are about to do. Owners know exactly what this looks like. You haven't picked up the leash yet. The Golden already knows a walk is coming. You haven't opened the food container yet. The Golden already knows dinner is approaching. You haven't even fully stood up from the couch. The Golden is already waiting by the door. And honestly, sometimes it feels a little suspicious. What's especially impressive is how adaptable they are. Like Labradors, Golden Retrievers excel in a huge variety of roles. Service dogs, therapy dogs, guide dogs, search and rescue dogs, family companions. That's only possible because they're intelligent enough to learn complex tasks while also remaining calm and reliable. And that's actually what separates truly smart dogs from dogs that simply know a few tricks. Intelligence isn't just learning. It's applying what you've learned in different situations. Golden Retrievers are exceptionally good at that. They're also excellent at reading people. Many owners swear their dog can tell when somebody is sad, stressed, excited, or upset. Now, are they mind readers? Probably not, but they're very observant. And observant dogs often seem almost psychic. The funny thing is that Goldens hide all this intelligence behind a giant smiling face. A Border Collie looks like it's solving equations. A Golden Retriever looks like it's just happy to be included. Meanwhile, it's quietly learning your habits, predicting your routines, and figuring out exactly how the household works. And honestly, that combination of intelligence and friendliness is a huge reason the breed is so popular, because being smart is impressive. Being smart and easy to live with is even better. 4. German Shepherds. When people picture an intelligent dog, there's a very good chance they're picturing a German Shepherd. And honestly, it's hard to argue with that reputation. These dogs are incredibly smart. But what makes them special isn't just how quickly they learn, it's how seriously they take learning. German Shepherds don't approach tasks like games, they approach them like responsibilities, which is probably why they're trusted with so many important jobs around the world. Police work, military work, search and rescue, service work, protection work. These aren't positions given to dogs that struggle with problem solving. German Shepherds excel because they combine intelligence with focus. A lot of smart dogs get distracted. A lot of smart dogs get bored. German Shepherds often become completely invested in what they're doing. And honestly, owners notice this immediately. Teach a German Shepherd something once and the dog starts paying attention. Teach it twice and the dog starts understanding. Teach it a few more times and suddenly it looks like the dog is studying for an exam. These dogs genuinely enjoy having a purpose, which is one reason they're so successful as working dogs. They don't just memorize commands. They want to understand what the job is. What's especially impressive is how observant they are. German Shepherds notice details, changes in behavior, changes in routines, changes in the environment. Many owners describe them as dogs that are constantly watching and processing information, which can be both reassuring and slightly intimidating, because sometimes it feels like the German Shepherd knows exactly what's going on before anybody else does. And honestly, it probably does. The downside is that intelligence and awareness can create challenges. A bored German Shepherd often becomes a very creative German Shepherd, and creative German Shepherds don't always use their talents in ways owners appreciate. But when properly trained and mentally engaged, they're among the most capable dogs in the world. Strong, loyal, focused, and incredibly intelligent, which is exactly why they've earned their reputation as one of the smartest breeds on Earth. 3. Poodles. When people think about smart dog breeds, poodles often have a strange problem. Everybody knows they're intelligent, but a lot of people don't realize just how intelligent they are. And honestly, that's because their appearance sometimes distracts people. The fancy haircuts, the elegant reputation, the dog show image. Somehow, all of that causes people to forget they're looking at one of the smartest breeds in the world, which is a mistake, because poodles are incredibly clever. These dogs learn commands quickly, solve problems efficiently, and often pick up new skills with remarkable speed. In fact, one reason poodles consistently rank near the top of intelligence lists is their ability to learn new commands with very little repetition. Teach them something a few times and they often understand what's expected. But what's really impressive isn't how fast they learn, it's how adaptable they are. Poodles come in different sizes: standard, miniature, toy. Yet regardless of size, they tend to display the same sharp minds and eagerness to learn. And honestly, owners notice it constantly. A poodle quickly learns household routines, learns which behaviors get rewards, learns which doors lead where, learns who enforces rules and who can be negotiated with. The dog is always paying attention, always gathering information. What's funny is that many poodles seem to enjoy mental challenges. Some dogs learn because they want a treat. Poodles often look like they're learning because they're curious, because figuring things out is fun, which is one reason they're so successful in obedience competitions and dog sports. The downside: a smart dog that isn't mentally stimulated can become bored, and a bored poodle is often a creative poodle. Unfortunately, creativity and mischief sometimes arrive together. Still, when it comes to learning speed, adaptability, and problem-solving ability, poodles are among the most impressive dogs you'll ever meet, which is exactly why they're sitting this high on the list. Behind all that fancy hair is a brain that's working overtime. 2. Australian Shepherds. If you've ever met an Australian Shepherd, you've probably noticed something almost immediately. These dogs are always thinking, always watching, always paying attention. And honestly, that's a huge reason they're considered one of the smartest breeds in the world. Australian Shepherds were developed to work closely with humans while managing livestock in constantly changing environments. That requires a lot more than obedience. It requires decision-making, problem-solving, adaptability, and the ability to learn quickly. Because on a working ranch, situations don't always unfold exactly as planned. The dog has to think, and Australian Shepherds are exceptionally good at that. Owners often describe them as dogs that seem to understand routines almost instantly. A few repetitions and the Australian Shepherd starts connecting the dots. A few more and it starts predicting what's about to happen, which can be both impressive and slightly inconvenient. Because once an Aussie figures something out, it tends to remember. The dog learns where toys are stored, where treats are hidden, which cabinet contains interesting things, and exactly what time important daily events are supposed to happen. What's especially impressive is how quickly they notice changes. A different schedule? Noticed. A new object in the house? Noticed. A family member acting differently? Definitely noticed. These dogs pay attention to details that many other breeds completely ignore. And because they're so intelligent, they often become deeply involved in whatever their people are doing. The Australian Shepherd doesn't just want activity. It wants participation. It wants a job. It wants something meaningful to focus on, which is one reason boredom can become such a problem. A bored Australian Shepherd often starts creating projects, and unfortunately, owners don't always approve of those projects. Because highly intelligent dogs are remarkably good at finding ways to entertain themselves. Still, when it comes to learning ability, awareness, and adaptability, Australian Shepherds are among the most impressive dogs you'll ever meet. They're fast learners, excellent problem solvers, and incredibly observant, which is exactly why they've earned a place near the very top of this list. 1. Border Collies. If there's one breed that consistently appears at the top of almost every canine intelligence ranking, it's the Border Collie. And honestly, after spending time around one, it's easy to understand why. These dogs are unbelievably smart. Not just smart by dog standards, smart in ways that occasionally make owners slightly uncomfortable. Because Border Collies don't simply learn, they analyze, observe, predict, and constantly look for problems that need solving. Originally bred to herd sheep, Border Collies had to manage animals, respond to commands, adapt to changing situations, and make independent decisions all at the same time. That's an incredibly demanding job, and the breed developed an incredible brain because of it. Owners often describe Border Collies as dogs that seem to learn things almost instantly. Commands, routines, patterns, rules. The dog is always paying attention, always collecting information, and always trying to figure out what's happening next. What's especially impressive is how quickly they connect ideas together. Many dogs learn specific actions. Border Collies often learn systems. They understand sequences, relationships, patterns, which is why they excel in obedience, agility, herding, and pretty much any activity that requires learning. And honestly, sometimes it feels like they're learning even when nobody is actively teaching them. A Border Collie watches. The Border Collie remembers. Then suddenly, the Border Collie understands something you never intended to explain. That's both impressive and slightly terrifying, because highly intelligent dogs don't just learn good habits, they learn everything, including weaknesses. And that's where owners occasionally run into trouble. A bored Border Collie is often one of the most creative animals on the planet. If there isn't a job available, the dog may invent one, and the invented jobs aren't always appreciated. Still, when it comes to pure intelligence, learning ability, problem-solving, and adaptability, Border Collies remain incredibly difficult to beat. They're focused, observant, driven, and constantly thinking, which is exactly why so many people consider them the smartest dog breed in the world. The only downside? Sometimes it feels like the Border Collie is evaluating you too. So, what makes a dog intelligent? The answer is actually more complicated than most people think. Some dogs learn commands quickly, some solve problems, some understand people, and some are smart enough to figure out exactly how to get what they want. The breeds on this list all demonstrate intelligence in different ways. The Beagle uses its brain to investigate. The Labrador learns people. The German Shepherd wants a purpose. The Poodle loves learning. The Border Collie practically turns thinking into a full-time job. And honestly, that's what makes dogs so fascinating. Intelligence doesn't always look the same. Sometimes it's obedience. Sometimes it's adaptability, sometimes it's problem-solving, and sometimes it's a dog figuring out how to steal your sandwich without leaving evidence. Which, if we're being honest, is still pretty impressive. No matter which breed came out on top, one thing is clear. Dogs are a lot smarter than many people give them credit for. Some just happen to be a little more obvious about it than others. Don't forget to check out our selected and recommended products. They might just be the perfect tools to make your life easier when it comes to caring for your pawed friend.